There, my name is Matt Brown. I'm an author and I have written 7 books, including the Compton Valance series, which is all about a boy called Compton who, along with his best friend Brian, accidentally create a time machine out of a mouldy cheese and pickled egg sandwich and get up to all sorts of extraordinary adventures, as you probably would if you had your own time machine. I'm really pleased that the book The Time Travelling Sandwich Bites Back has been included in this year's Usborne Summer Reading Adventure. So what I thought I'd do is I'd explain a little bit about the book and then read you a very short extract. The book essentially follows Compton and Brian as they travel to the 27th century with a man called Samuel Nathaniel Daniels. Now, Samuel Nathaniel Daniels works for a government agency in the future that's called the FPU, that's the Future Perfect Unit. And the boss of the FPU, Samuel Nathaniel Daniels' boss, is called the Commissioner, and she wants to meet Compton and Brian because of their time-travelling sandwich. And so Samuel Nathaniel Daniels has taken them to the top secret FPU headquarters in the 27th century and taken them to a door that is marked a completely ordinary broom cupboard. However, Samuel Nathaniel Daniels is at pains to explain that everything is not quite as it seems. Samuel Nathaniel Daniels opened the door marked completely ordinary broom cupboard, and he, Compton, and Brian all walked through. Inside was a small, cramped, dark room full of brooms. It's a completely ordinary broom cupboard, said Compton. A smile flashed across Samuel Nathaniel Daniels' face. Is it? He said mysteriously, and began to move the brooms to one side. Remember, in here, nothing is what it seems. Compton and Brian watched, and soon saw that behind the brooms was another door, this time marked totally normal mop and bucket storage area. Samuel Nathaniel Daniels nodded towards the door. Go ahead, he said, even more mysteriously than before. Open it up and see what's inside. Compton nervously pushed open the door marked totally normal mop and bucket storage area. Inside was a small storage area full of mops and buckets. Compton looked back at the others and sighed. It's a totally normal mop and bucket storage area, he said. Is it? Said Samuel Nathaniel Daniels, even more mysteriously than the previously even more mysterious time. Or is it something you would never dream of in your wildest of wild imaginings? With that, he moved aside all the mops and buckets to reveal another door, this time marked run-of-the-mill compartment for tea, coffee and chocolate biscuits. Who among you dares to step across the threshold of reason? He said, turning to face the boys. Remember this moment, because nothing that comes after it will ever be the same again. Rolling his eyes, Compton pushed open the door marked run-of-the-mill compartment for tea, coffee and chocolate biscuits. To his amazement, behind the door there wasn't any tea, coffee or biscuits to be seen. Instead, Compton found himself peering down a gloomy corridor. As he stepped into it, the corridor suddenly became so small and cramped that he and Brian had to go through in single file and duck down when they walked, otherwise they would have hit their heads on the ceiling. Why is it so small? Asked Compton as he stoop-walked down the corridor. It's an anti-intruder device, shouted Samuel Nathaniel Daniels from the back of the line. What if the intruders are small children? Asked Brian. Oh, said Samuel Nathaniel Daniels, we didn't think of that. The three of them huffed and puffed and shuffled in a line down the dark, tight, miniature corridor. turning this way and that as it snaked its way through the inside of the FPU building. Eventually, they came to a dead end. "We'll have to go back," shouted Compton over his shoulder to the others. "We can't go any further." "Don't worry," said Samuel Nathaniel Daniels from his position at the rear of the line. "The wall in front of you is actually a secret door. Just give it a tap." Compton tapped the wall, and seemingly from nowhere, a small drawer whirred open. "Oh, what do we do now?" called back Compton. "Well, it's another anti-intruder device," said Samuel Nathaniel Daniels. "The drawer is like a lock, except we don't have a normal key. To open the door, we use BRT, Bogey Recognition Technology." "What on earth's that?" said Brian. "Oh, it's the very latest thing," said Samuel Nathaniel Daniels. "We've installed it on all the FPU's most secret doors. Basically, every human being has their own snot pattern. It's completely unique to them and almost impossible to copy. You just need to put a bogey in the drawer, and hey presto, the door opens." "Wow," said Compton. "So I just need to put one of my nose candies in it to open it up?" "Not quite," said Samuel Nathaniel Daniels as he stuck one of his fingers up his nose and had a good rummage around. "Your snot pattern isn't in the system, so you'll have to put in one of my bogies for it to work. I'll pass you one and you can pop it in." "What?" shouted Compton. "I'm not touching your snot." "Me neither," said Brian. "Oh, come on, it's just a bogey," said Samuel Nathaniel Daniels. "And besides, you have to, otherwise we're stuck here." Once Samuel Nathaniel Daniels had found a good, juicy bogey, he took hold of Brian's hand and wiped it on his middle finger. "Pass it on," he instructed. Scarcely able to believe the hideous grossness of what was happening, and with a look of horror etched onto his face, Brian moved his hand very slowly round to where Compton was standing and wiped the nasal mucus onto Compton's hand. Then, fighting the urge to be sick on the floor, Compton lowered his hand and wiped the schnoz slime into the drawer. The drawer then whirred closed automatically, and the corridor went silent. Compton and Brian wiped their hands furiously on their trousers. After a few moments, 3 green lights appeared on the wall in front of them, and a door, which had, up until that exact second, been completely invisible, slowly hissed open. "Right," said Samuel Nathaniel Daniels. "Come on, let's go." From the cramped conditions in the corridor, it took a moment for Compton and Brian to quite believe what they saw beyond the secret door. But I'm not going to tell you what they saw beyond the secret door. You'll have to read it for yourself. So, enjoy Usborne's summer reading adventure, and I hope you like the book.